Welcome. This is Magical Epic.
Hi, welcome to Magical Everything. Let's talk about the Zentrix. Zinn, Z-I-N-N, and N, place where you're welcome. We're going to talk about a lot of things in this period of time. In you're welcome, you can stay as long as you love. You know, altruism, moral, ethical doctrine to help and benefit others. So Z for Zen, you know, Buddhism, Buddha, Zen, you know, good versus evil, Zen, peace. Sin, evil, you know, sin leads to people doing evil, so stay away from that stuff. And you'll feel good about yourselves. Well, magical everything. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Magical everything. Let's talk about parallel. We're talking about a lot of things today. Here, welcome to Magical Everything. You know, touching base a little bit on John Anthony West, Robert Bauval, you know, the Symbologist tour. Well, this is touching base on that some. We're going to talk about parallel multiverses, relativity, tachyons, energy itself, 0 point energy, creation. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm glad you came. And first of all, now that they can observe subatomic particles without destroying them, like the two gentlemen who won the recent Nobel Prize, destroying 11,000 protons per second. Protons it's living energy. They're beings, living, ethereal beings. So, all the hadron colliders, they should and must be shut down. I mean, that's the fact. They're protons. They're aware. They're conscious. Any subatomic particle, atom, anything. They're aware, conscious, and depletion. This is why the big freeze, idea, the depletion of the protons for the sun to fuse into helium, creating the light, will eventually cause, the sun to not have any protons to fuse. So, referring to, I call it the quantum refresh rate. Now, you refer to the pixel rate in your TV. You think of the subatomic particles, protons, electrons, neutrons. They're referring to, metaphorical, figurative, pixels that create a reality. So we have, in a sense, a quantum refresh rate. I like to translate all of the large words, science words, and I'll use some of them, and even you'll hear some that you haven't heard before. That most people think are too extreme for them. I like to translate them and granulize or downscale them into language that people can relate to and understand if they're wanting to put in the time. It's obviously, for those people that it's for, touching base on the documentary What Makes a Genius. Everybody's anatomically designed and genetically, predisposed to do certain things, certain skill sets. They already know this. What makes or what causes someone to have a eureka, I found it, the light bulb goes off moment. And based on what we're going to talk about today, and this is, over the last 4 years, I've been learning collectively my whole life, obviously, specifically the last 10 or so, 11, 12, 13 years, and then it's just three to four years since before today. I've been writing all this down, and I found myself to to more or less be memorizing the vast majority of it. So what I'd like to discuss is how should be knowledge, information should be researched further or continued based on moral authority. There's a phrase for it. Information should not be pursued without having the moral authority or belief systems to back it up. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of questions that you're going to be thinking of while watching this. You may have to watch it several, 10, many times to comprehend this, even if, some people are not supposed to comprehend all this, and that's okay. That's part of, like referring to the sacred geometry and how everything in nature grows with specific patterns, and it's supposed to be this way. This specific, pine cone is not supposed to be or look like, a different plant or a different, but plants grow in specific patterns, and that's stuff that, John Anthony West and his team, and people that have worked on the Magical Egypt Symbologist tour, the Ancient Aliens crew, hats off to everyone in this field of research. The modernized esotericists, symbols are folders. And your brain's a computer, so it's a biological organic quantum computer. It processes thoughts, math. Referring to the flight helmets, unmanned, UK unmanned aerial vehicles. The one pilot flying 5 planes has a helmet that picks up, via nootropic or pharmaceutical enhancement, amplifying the brainwave amplification, and it, the helmet senses the thought patterns and flies the other planes without an actual, human being in the plane. So, coherent interaction with computer technology via the mind. That's cutting edge science, and I know that they're doing a vast majority of work on that. They like to make sure that they're precise on their information and keep everything calm and in control and everything. Obviously, altruism, peace, the opposite of chaos and warfare and rioting, all that crazy stuff. But that's what it's about. It's about benefiting the whole, benefiting creation. Knowledge. It's like facts on the internet. The internet's just there. We're supposed to take this information and then apply the wisdom, which is the application of the knowledge or the information, to benefit everyone else into creation. So facts and information is just facts and information until it's applied via, us being the users or the routers. Our brain's a computer. It's a router, referring to Akashic records. I call it the crystal net, referring to the crystals, the computers of the ancients. It's not a keyboard that you sit and type at, holding, Thoth, the crystal ball, or any sort of crystal. All gemstones are crystal, quasi-crystalline, all matters comprised of geometry and math. Top experts in their fields, quantum simulation, digital physics, consciousness experts, these extremist people that are so knowledgeable about their field, about their studies, or several. All matter is mathematically formulatable, or able to form into a mathematical formula, which has come from some unfathomable form of quantum processor or collective super quantum processing or quantum supercomputer. Well, if you think of how much much elements, how many different varieties of elements, and let's just break it down and speak specifically about quartz. IBM in the '60s, Mitchell Hedges. Who cares? I mean, I care, but I'm just saying, in parentheses, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Disregarding who made it, where it came from, how many tool marks it has. That's silicon dioxide. Silicon, storage device, self-aware energy. All atoms, all energy, self-aware energy. Everything, collective consciousness. Everything is aware. Holographic consciousness. Everything's aware. So, you know, to touch base on this chair is aware I'm sitting in it. You know, the clothes are aware that I'm wearing it, and it's much more advanced than that. It's much more elaborate than that. But that's just to give you a little idea of, you know, what we exist in the consciousness hologram, which refers to, you know, if you touch base on the matrix, you know, parallel running matrix code. Everybody has a parallel, simultaneous universal reality. Parallel universes, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Parallel multiverses, and then the construct, you know, parallel multiverses, parallel, you know, an omniverse, an omnipresent construct or background verse containing all the multiverses, parallel, simultaneous, and universes, parallel and simultaneous. Everybody has, you know, all of this sensory input that we receive, you know, all of this is inside. The illusion is that it's outside. We receive the information, millions of electrical impulses per minute. Everybody's varied depending on the, you know, Robert Bauval, you know, the ancient temples were that which, they were the teachers. They were that which you interacted with. There were no physical keyboards to type at. It was a mental symbological language, the tone language, a language of symbolism, sacred symbolism that you, you know, in the mind's eye, or the eye within the brain, the hyperlingual gland or pineal gland, you know, accessing information from multiple planes of existence, you know, or all sorts of different multiverses, parallel universes. You know, if I were to stand up and get up and go outside, you know, the room here off camera, there's still a version of me that's sitting here talking. And in fact, by thinking of me getting up and walking away, that actually created a parallel universe where that happens, you know. So every choice, every decision creates and branches different stems, roots, you know, into different realities. So breaking that down, granulizing is a better word than breaking it down. That can have, you know, a sort of a destructive symbolism or mannerism to it. So I like to stay away from phrases and terms such as, you know, destructive and destructive nature. Okay, you know, I talked about something big, you know, the big freeze, you know, the destruction of protons. These are pretty big topics, you know. One of the biggest topics on the planet today is oxygen, ozone, you know, space, the void of space creeping in through the, you know, the bioelectric, biomagnetic field, the force field of the planet, blocking out solar radiation, etc., you know. So, let's take a big jump back, connect you back to the quantum refresh rate. There's so much to talk about, and I'd like to sum this up, and, you know, within an hour to 2 hours, to really get you all thinking. And this is very important information. This is worthy of definitely being introduced, you know, at the rate allowable to the ancient aliens, the crew. Robert Schoch, Erich von Daniken, Giorgio Tsoukalos, John Anthony West, obviously, you know, you know, these guys, they're really studying the roots of our creation using the technology that we're given. Now, we also, you know, we have to give the credit to everyone who has developed, you know, CERN, these hadron colliders, this technology. This laptop here is just, you know, without technology like this being to reestablish connection or bring back the lost knowledge of the ancients to apply the wisdom that they were applying. You know, it's all purposeful. It all has a purpose. Everything has a purpose. I have quotes, you know, I have the science if you have the time. You know, people say, well, you need to back up your information with a little bit with some facts. Well, I have the facts. I have the science. You know, over the last 4 years, if you could think of how many hours, days, weeks, months, years, it took me roughly 4, given that that's pretty much the vast majority of what I've been doing, is learning and studying 2,750, roughly 2,800 different, you know, not just anonymously going to different websites or watching different, you know, this is disregarding a lot of, you know, YouTube videos. This is, you know, a lot of written information. Some videos I have, have added as favorites or bookmarks. But just to anonymously go to 2,800, 3,000 bookmarks or sites and add them as to a favorite, not Google one search engine and say, well, these all count. You have to go to them, read them, go, oh wow, this is important. I should bookmark this or add to favorite. This is going to be important at a later time, and I have literally 2,750 currently. So that's my basis. It's like, published papers, all the top fields of science. That's like a brain candy to me. Learning is mental exercise. And stimulating the piezoelectric power plant that is the geometric shape. Geometric electromagnetic properties, the geometric shapes. The skull is a shape, the cranium is a shape, producing piezoelectricity, living direct current at its core, the hyperlingual or the pineal gland. It's the hyperlingual, sublingual under the tongue. So it's a coherent interaction with, we're breathing in air, interacting with the sublingual gland connected to the hyperlingual gland. More of a explaining scientifically how the Akashic records, I thought the crystal net. The information embedded in the crystals. Information, the energy itself stores information, has memory. The 0-point energy pool, is where all information is stored. It's like the hippocampus, or the storage device of ethereal creation, and then information is transferred slowly to the computers, the physical computers. I like to refer to it, touching base with Einstein, his unfinished symphony, Mind of God, God's computers. Elements are God's computers. The 1 point. Think of binary code, 0-point energy. The 1 point energy is the atomic sphere. And if you think of, like I have this plasma ball here, the inner electro in the center would be the 1 point energy, 4% of creation, the atomic sphere. All of the lightning, the dark matter takes up 22% of our creation, and then the gas, the unvisible energy within takes up the other 74% of the dark energy, of creation. And then there's the 0-point membrane, or the 0-point wall containing everything, ethereal, celestial spheres. So celestial spheres, you go, well, 3-dimensional spherical, think of this plasma ball here, crystal sphere, what's actually going on inside of a crystal, which most people, it's just an unanimate, I have on scientific basis, inanimate, or inanimate would be in a state of being animate, or infinite, in a state of being finite. Unfinite or unanimate would be the state of being unfinite or unanimate. So these are, words that, based upon the science and everything that I've learned, that this needs to be, approached, and, thoughts create reality. That's, Egyptians, the ancients, which Egyptians, we call Egypt, but what was it called before Egypt? It was just land, So the descendants of, this Atlantis, or the Lyrians, or the Lemurians, Mu, these different civilizations. I guess that was the purpose of this. This is Crystal, the dog here. She's very pretty. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Give you guys a little bit of time to catch up, to think, process the information. The brain's a computer. It takes time to process. Some people complain about their head hurting, headaches from reading, from learning. Obviously, that's common stuff. Water, helps with cooling. Think of like water cooled systems and in technology. So water. I got some right here, so I'm gonna take a drink now. Although I have very no problems with headaches. So that's kind of the idea. We've all talked about the software, to interact with the symbols. Well, we have hardware also, or semi-solidware, referring to it's not literally hard like quartz would be, but quartz being an elemental quantum computer. So it's just they theorize we use 2 to 15% of our brains, and at per second we're using of information that we're processing using only that small compared to 100% of the potential of the brain. So if you think that quartz is using 100% of it, and it could potentially overclocking, ethereal overclocking, that would be more referring to like with the 0-point energy processions, would be for ethereal overclocking, and then physical overclocking, elemental overclocking. What's 100% of what 100 is what most people would think. Well, what about 100% of 1 trillion? So you can 1 trillion% overclock, and that's the type of information, type of process, type of technology that quartz really is. It's just hidden in plain sight. It's just a rock to most people, although it falls in the category of a rock. Good girl, it's okay. It's okay. She's okay. It's okay. Let's go lay down though. Let's go lay down. She bowed. Make a bow. Good girl. Okay. Technology. If Thoth were to physically time travel to today's world and see this lab, they go, what would you need that for? Because that's kind of the idea that technology is granulized into, and I like that word, into the technology that we have, that we see today. Everything exists within a tachyon, or a 0-point drone, referring to worker bees, or drones, unmanned aerial vehicles type. There's 0-point drones, or the worker bees, referring to the queen bee, or queen Z. The Zinn, Z, 0, N, energy, 0-point energy. The Zinn goddess, feminine energy. God being the 1-point energy, the masculine energy. So the 1-point god, the 0-point goddess, referring to there's all many different spiritualities and religions and everything, and I syncretism, blending, altruistically blending all of everything that's beneficial, and everything exists, every thought exists. So fiction's an illusion, fake is an illusion. If you thought it, why'd you think it? We're just touching base on what I call, and I touched base, Z for Zen, in. If you'd love to stay at the end of Zen, you're welcome. So welcome to the Zentrix, and magic. The Egyptians described as the coherent, interactive or transformation of consciousness or awareness and our thoughts into the material universe, into reality. So magic's real. It's just we think of people traditionally on stage doing magic through deception, and the people on stage know the tricks, but the audience likes to be pleasantly, thoughtfully deceived, to go, oh wow, it happened in a flash before my eyes and I didn't even see it, that appeared to be magic. Well, there's actual thoughts in the matter, which everything is thoughts in the matter. Everything's just planned out precisely, so it appears to be an illusion. So there's different views. People just think of magic as some sort of on stage, David Copperfield type stuff. Well, there's a lot that goes into being able to do that. So it is in fact a form of magic, but what the Egyptians referred to as magic is literal. the ancients are referred as the ancients because there's, you know, coming from different areas. There's temples all over the world. You know, and you think of Thoth. You know, he went around and mingled with the you know, the culture of the areas and built these temples and palaces based on you know, fitting and applying and appealing altruistically to those. You know, it's not a takeover. It's a, hey, you know, I want to give, you know, it's like being Santa Claus. You know, he went around and he did a bunch of, you know, Joe Rogan, he's hilarious. Anyways, he's got a, you know, Santa Claus was real type. You know, it's a paper. I mean, he wrote this on Santa Claus. Anyways, to get away from that a little bit, stay on topic here. Went around and, you know, advanced technology and the civilizations, you know, and you get into geomancy, you know, the world grid, just like the puncture, acupuncture. You place specific monuments or sites or stones or crystals. These, you know, they're just stone or they're just rock. Well, they're limestone's crystalline, granite's crystalline, so they're crystal palaces, and you put them in specific places. We have a chakra system, and you know, energetic center. And I refer to it now as the Zynergetic or Zynergetic centers, based on the 0-point energy, you know. So chakra, you know, Ra, you know, in honor of Ra, chalk, you know, you think calcium, chalk, you know, could have some other, obviously it's a word, it's a folder, it's a symbol, words are symbols, so there's much meaning, but, you know, to say that I call them something different, more like Zenras, or you know, raw light energy, Zen's peace, 0-point, so it's like a little dark energy, raw or raw light energy, Zenras. So you know, I'm just packing more information into the folders. They still exist as those. They're just being evolved and upgraded also. So this is the process. You're able to witness the process of how. You know, one would go about the temple, Robert Bauval style, and interact with the temple. And, you know, most people go in and take some pictures and bring them home, and that's it. They just go through it so fast, it's gone, and it was just a memory. You're supposed to stay there. That's their home. That was, you know, Karnak, you know, Temple of Man. That's where they resided, and it has to do with holistic healing. The vibration of the planets vibrated these crystals, subtle energy, negative ions, profound healing effect. You're vibrating these crystal pillars and obelisks, and it's creating an invisible to some, non-liquid-like, having the properties of liquid-like sound field inside, and that's profound holistic healing that kept them younger longer. And if you're in it enough and have enough of it supporting you, you will in fact, you know, become ageless. Now, to be, you know, there's a difference between being ageless and being, you know, unable to be struck by something, you know, like the Thing from the Fantastic Four. You hit him with a sword, you're not going to cut it. He's uncuttable, untouchable. You know, so, you know, if someone were to, you know, get cut, if Amun were to get a cut, you know, he's still going to bleed, he's still going to heal, but there's going to be an accelerated healing effect, you know, thinking to give you, you know, symbologic language, you know, thinking of like Wolverine, you know, from X-Men, he gets cut, or Deadpool, heals back up, accelerated healing. You know, Resident Evil, you know, Albert Wesker. I'm going to get into this. There's just so much here. This is an introduction, you know, taking the theorizing and going, no, this is definitely real. You know, if you pay attention to Robert Bauval during the Illumination Part 7 of the Magical Egypt Symbologist Tour, he's very, very into, you know, and I have also different talismans, amulets, So they're what they mean to you. There's so much more experience, in the hippocampus or the storage device of the brain, because like the flight box of a jet, of a plane, recording all information, all sensory input. So talking physically is a quote unquote primitive form of communication, but there's only so many words to tell someone what they experienced, and that's what Robert Bauval talks about. So that's that's it in a nutshell, and nuts, got some right here, that's neurotransmitters, walnut shaped like the two hemispheres of the brain, sacred masculine, sacred feminine, each side of each hemisphere has its own polarity, positive and masculine. So indeed, brains have dual polarity. I like the word synonymous definitions. Giving you a new realization, a new approach. I'm telling it in different words to give you a different view of a folder. It's like having the folder that has a different icon, more of an icon stylized in metaphorical worded language to form a new image or picture in your mind. That's with technology that they were working with. So getting back to Thoth and the temples, we have a Zinra system, or a chakra system, and the planet does. Everything the universe does. So, you think of the solar system, the planets are the individual energy centers, the sun, you think of the core, the heart, everything has this, it's sacred geometry, as above, so below, as on the outside, also on the inside, on this side, also on the other side, but it's slightly different, terminology getting into, and bear with me here, the whole, it's just a movie. Yeah, the plot, whatever, the characters are made up, but listen to the science, get the symbolism out of it. Fringe, Olivia Dunham, Anna Torv, Walter Bishop, John Noble, Peter Jackson, or Joshua Jackson, Peter Bishop. I apologize. Slightly different. It's there, but it's slightly different to keep the change. The laws of the universe change, keep the change going. Let me get back into reading and giving you a little bit of what I have pre-written, kind of my notes per se. But it's really, words are symbols, so you read a little bit and then it triggers, boom. It opens up massive amounts of folders, folder collectives, it opens up 10 to 20 to 200, 2,000, 2 trillion, 2 billion, 2 quadrillion, trillion, billion. They use these terms and these numbers referring to distances in extreme quantum, mechanics, physics, So this real stuff, a trillion, billion, So how many folders do you have? Ethereologically, logical, referring to ethereal, metaphorical, like, there's folders in this hard drive, but we're not going to be able to touch them like manila folders we can touch, so they're there, but, we're unable to physically touch them like we're used to feeling and touching. Okay, the quantum refresh rate, here we go. I say it and call it that so people can understand. I know we could, transfer it into some larger, more difficult to understand or comprehend word. But think of the pixel rate of your computer system or computer monitors. If we destroy the energy that creates our world faster than creation can refresh itself, similar to an HDTV and pixel refresh rate, processor rate, we will end up in an event horizon where all physical life who needs the sun, to live, stay warm, freeze, plants, photosynthesis. The universe can still exist without protons. That's the whole basis on this. And so can other solar systems. So the idea, different time-space continuums. You know, our solar system is like one cell in the body. If one cell in the body were to, you know, die, it gets replaced. You know, so the idea is, you know, we're only, you know, in our embodiments or incarnations or in our physical, you know, cars or vehicles or vessels. You know, there's souls, the soul's life, you know, and then there's physical, you know, physical embodiment, lifespan, or duration is a better word. So, you know, the way it's designed, the way creation is designed is, you know, everything's automatically always being backed up. It's all, you know, everything's being preloaded. So, you know, everything's being created and inserted better. Inserted strategically timed perfectly so that it guarantees the continuation of everything. Now, inside of an unfiniverse are infiniverses, such as a multiverse being the unfiniverse to the universes being infinite or infinite. So there's infinite universes, or potentially there could be some infinite universes within this multiverse, and then multiverses could then be infinite or unfinite depending on the omniverse, you know, the construct, the background, godlike, omnipresent, everywhere at once, being everything while being nothing at the same time. You know, nothing technically is something. You know, what is awareness? You know, you talk about the primordial ooze. Well, I would call that having the properties being nothing, but having the properties of a superfluid. You know, what is the properties of the 0 point energy ocean or pool? You could define it as this primordial ooze. You know, think of a superfluidity, but having the absence of being something physical. It's you know, 0 point before that, you think of non-point energy. You know, the energy that nothing exists as. And then you form, you know, math. You know, 0 comes out of the nothingness or the nothing, creating the 0 point energy with awareness. Nothing is aware. So you know, nothing. There's nothing right here, but in fact, there's actually something. Atoms, gas. You know, and then the background, you get into the dark matter that's, you know, replenishing it, filling it, refreshing it. The refresh rate, and you know, the 0 point, the energetic continuum, all the different families of particles. You know, the 8th video on the Symbologist tour. You know, the ancients had, you know, synesthetes. They had supersymmetric vibration. They had quantum mechanics. They had quantum physics. They had, you know, they were beyond that. You know, Graham Hancock. You know, exploration of consciousness. Now, I believe in obeying the law, obeying laws, and that's great. That's perfect, because, you know, the idea is that where do your thoughts come from, and that would this could trouble most. You always have the choice to turn the tape off, stop the video, come back later, take the blue pill, referring to the Matrix, blink your eyes, take a couple deep breaths, wake up tomorrow and believe whatever you'd like to believe. That's the whole premise for this. But just, you know, 2,750 websites, you know, books, different, you know, pieces, you know, that's just websites, 2,750 websites. I think, well, you can't believe everything that you read on the internet. Well, astral belief, our belief system, our gut feeling, our intuition. You need to check out Horizon, BBC, What Makes a Genius, because they touch base on why we experience those things. You know, altruism, you know, talking about magic, magical Egypt, magical creation, magical earth, magical, you know, magical everything. Magic, altruism. If the word's a symbol, if all you speak is true, that this is the key to magic, you know, coherent interaction with matter. So, you know, you think of Abraham Lincoln, you know, Honest Abe, you know, felt a moral obligation for the Emancipation Proclamation. Everybody should be free. That's their divine right, you know, to be free. You know, so that's what it's all about. You know, increase the morals. Morals connected to the force. You know, what is the force? You know, the force, the psychokinetic magic, direct magic or interaction from both God and the goddess, the 1 point God and the 0 point goddess. That's the idea. 1 point energy masculine, 0 point energy feminine, and they blend together in the perfect mesh or perfect creational sphere as what we exist in. Now, how in the world can I say all this? This is the question. You know, it's the question that drives us. Okay. Now, you know, any quotes and anything subject to copyright by, the one, just, you know, Matrix quotes and all this, of course, that's their property. I'm just auto writing, auto thinking, auto talking. I'm just here. Our brain's a router. You know, our brain's a computer, and it routes information. So computers connected to the internet, you know, think our brains are connected to the crystal net or Akashic records. Everybody's is. It's just a matter of you're anatomically, genetically designed to say, speak, hear, think, feel exactly what you're supposed to feel and hear and think. And I touch base on this a little bit later. At a point here, I'm going to literally read just about everything fluid here, and then and I just go back and forth. I said an hour to 2 hours. We're just going to play it by ear. I can only stop when I stop. You know, because that's kind of the idea. So, you know, welcome to the Zentrix, you know, peace. The goal of everything is to have peace everywhere. Zen, you know, and since evil and sin already exists, slightly different versions of it will pop up here and there, but then you get into the concept ideas of, you know, universal defenders, multiversal defenders, omniversal defenders. Now, we're multidimensional beings. We exist in more than one dimension, you know. The four-dimensional, durational hypercube or hypersphere. The hypercube becomes a four-dimensional hypersphere at certain parts through its rotation. Once it hits the sphere, it can then go back into the square or form the square within the sphere. It's then you go to pentaract, hexaract, it goes on, you know, unfinite. It only stops or becomes infinite when it's supposed to. Same with sacred geometry. You can go 0, 1, 1 and stop. And that's all we need, you know, or that's all the computers need. That's all the crystals, that's all creation needs. Or 0, 1, 1, you know, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and then stop. And then we're just going to use this, you know, why does a pine cone only grow so many, why does a plant only have so many leaves? How does it have so many branches, you know? So there's limitation, you know, that's what regulates a lot is the limitation effect. And then once again, pursuit of unlimitation would require, you know, spiritual authorization, moral authorization. The thing that I'm visualizing now is Robert Bauval talking about his Christian symbol and his ankh that he wears. You know, some people have been in near-death experiences and have been so scared, and I'm one of them. I could talk about that, you know, that they know, they believe, they have the words in the, you know, the science to prove to somebody, you know, this is what happened, you know. But I've been in a car wreck when I was 17. This is going to touch base on the fringe, okay? It's slightly different.